The saddest things found in video games. A lot of video games are meant to distract you from the dark realities of life, but some games will do the exact opposite, making you want to tear up and cry. From games having locations dedicated to loved ones who have passed, to tragic Easter eggs about dogs waiting for their owners, I'm going to take a look at some of the saddest Easter eggs in video games to see just how tragic they really are. Alright, so this one's from the game Just Cause 4, and the game pretty much has a huge map where you can roam around, but there's one specific location dedicated to the game developers' loved ones. So here we can see 6 of the memorial stones, but on the other side there are more. Again, these all belong to the loved ones of some of the game developers and creators of this game. It's honestly sad to see so many people have passed along the way, but it is a nice way to remember them. The same thing was done in Just Cause 3, where it had a specific location dedicated to a person by the name of Tay Gina Stevenson, and the text says she was a bright flame that burned too fast, the unyielding ground for our legacy of love. And then I guess after doing this for this one person, they did it for all these other people as well. Pretty sad, but also pretty wholesome. Alright, so next we have the game Half-Life 2, which has you deal with these zombie-like creatures, and they make a pretty interesting sound. So yeah, it sounds very zombie-like, but did you know that if you were to play this audio in reverse, you're actually able to understand what it says? So yeah, it's crying out words such as, please help, God help me. So yeah, just know that that person is still alive underneath that head crab. He's going after the player for 2 reasons. 1, because he's forced to attack you, but 2, because he's desperately pleading for help. Alright, but next we've got Doom Eternal. And now this game is pretty intense and extremely violent, but did you know that they were nice enough to include a wholesome Easter egg of Markiplier's father? Here, take a look.
The developers of this game, they gave me a little bit of a surprise. There.
Yep, there it is.
How to comb your mustache, Clifton M. Fishbach. That's my dad's name. And my dad had a killer mustache. Here's a picture of my dad with a mustache.
Yeah, so Markiplier had told the developers how much the Doom series has meant to him. His father actually introduced them to the series, and so they decided to do something nice for him.
And anyone can see it, and anyone can find it, and anyone can learn how to comb your mustache.
And now he'll forever live on in this amazing game.
To the developers of the game and the people that put this in here, just thank you.
Alright, but now in Grand Theft Auto 5, there's this dog right here that you could see walking towards the cemetery. If you were to continue following him, he would eventually stop into one in particular, that belonging to his owner. It's honestly pretty sad, but also cute at the same time. It's actually based off of a true story, Greyfriars Bobby, who spent 14 years guarding the grave of his owner until he died. They even made a statue of this dog. But that's not it for sad, tragic dog stories, because in Fallout New Vegas, there's this place called Cave of the Abandoned, and when you go there, in the corner of the area is Seymour, which as you can see is some sort of dog that might have been like petrified or something. Now, this is a reference to Futurama when Fry finds his old dog Seymour to be petrified. Fry then walks away, and then it reveals the truth of what happened to this dog. So in case you didn't know the story about Futurama, Fry is the main character of the show, and he originally had this dog called Seymour, which he told to wait outside while he worked at the pizza place. Fry would eventually go into the future by accident, leaving him 1,000 years into the future and leaving Seymour alone to wait outside of the pizza restaurant for many years. In the end, Seymour was a good dog, and he waited for his owner to return until one day he just never woke up. And so all that remains was his petrified body. Make sure to hug your animals now. Alright, so this next one takes place in Spider-Man 4, and it's more of an awkward, sad thing. So there's a movie theater, then when you come across it, it reads, "Maddie, will you marry me?" Now, Maddie is actually a real person, and this is a real message proposing to her. This guy by the name of Tyler is a huge fan of Spider-Man, and he tweeted at the game developers asking for help proposing to his girlfriend. The game developers tweeted, "Sure, can you wait until September 7th? Tyler responded saying that we've just passed our 5 years in April, so I think she'll still be around in September, lol. She wasn't. Yeah, that's right, by the time that the game came out, which was 5 weeks after he tweeted for their help, the couple ended up breaking up. And the reason for the breakup is probably the most awkward thing ever.
The thing that sucks about this Easter egg, 3-4 weeks ago,
It was 5.
my girlfriend dumped me to go with my brother, basically throwing away the 5 years that we had together and spitting in my face, basically saying this wasn't even the way that she wanted to be proposed to.
Yep, that's right. According to Tyler, Maddie chose to date his brother. Now, Maddie did eventually comment saying that she never cheated on him and did not leave him for his brother. They're simply close friends. The reason for the breakup was because it turned into a mother and son relationship, where she constantly had to remind him about things, as well as dealing with financial mistakes and his violent outbursts. So someone's lying in this case, and for a long time this message was still available within the game until finally the game developers realized what happened and eventually took it down. Honestly, the whole situation is pretty awkward. Alright, but now we move on to the game Genshin Impact, because this game as well has a pretty tragic and sad quest. In the game, you can encounter a person by the name of Childish Yang. If you were to talk to him, you play a game of hide and seek with him. As you find him, you begin to realize that despite being a grown adult, he still very much acts like a kid, hence his name. He starts to drop interesting text such as, "This is my secret hiding place, even mommy can't find me here." Once you find him again, he says, "What do you think of my daddy's specially chosen hiding place? Pretty well hidden, right?" Well, if you were to explore near his house, you notice these two gravestones, which yes, are dedicated to his mom and dad. They are dead, he just doesn't know it. He believes that till this day, they are playing a game of hide and seek. Oh yeah, here he says, "One day she suddenly said she wanted to play hide and seek with me as a hider and her as the seeker." Yeah, one of his last quotes here states, "Maybe mommy got mad because I was so well hidden that she couldn't find me? Still, I'd have thought that mommy or daddy would have found me by now, after such a long time." Yeah, so in his wiki here, it says his father was eventually called upon to serve for battle what he hoped was his final mission, but died in the process. His mother, who learned of her husband's death, chose not to reveal what happened to him, instead opting for a game of hide and seek. Yanger's mother soon left and died sometime later, not wishing to traumatize her son. Yanger never hid too far from home and would occasionally return to eat, but he never saw his mother ever again. Yeah, so it seems to be that he's unaware of his parents' death, even despite the gravestones being placed there. He's looked after by his uncle and some of the soldiers there, but yeah, it's still a pretty bizarre and sad quest. Another sad thing about Fallout 4 are these different skeletons that you come across throughout the lands. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, and just looking at all these different skeletons kind of tells you like a sad and tragic story that had happened. Like there's this couple here that could be found embracing each other as they both just sadly passed away. And nearby their bodies, there's also this location, which as you can see, there's a few children's toys there. Honestly, this game is full of tragedy and darkness, but probably one of the more darker tragedies comes from the game Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and in the beginning of the game, you play as Link, who gets lost and found by Skull Kid, who then turns you into this weird creature known as a Deku Scrub. As you go through some of the levels, you encounter this thing right here, and the fairy says, "It's strange, but the way you look right now sort of reminds me of this tree. It looks all dark and gloomy, almost like it could start crying any second now." So yeah, that tree right there used to have life. In fact, it's the Deku Scrub that you as Link are wearing right now. See, in the game, you play as Link, who wears all these different masks of like actual people and creatures that are now dead. So this thing, this Deku Scrub that's Link, was once alive until Skull Kid killed him. In a later part of the game, you're met with the Deku Butler. He says to please follow him, and you eventually do, until you realize he's starting to become faster. It becomes difficult, but eventually you do it, and he states, "Actually, when I see you, I reminded of my son who left home long ago. I felt as if I was once again racing my son. I may have tried too hard to outrun you. As old as I am, I'm still fast, just like when I raced my son." So yeah, that tree that you saw right there that looked like it was crying is actually this butler's son. And now probably the saddest part is that after you beat the game, there's a whole marriage, everybody's happy, everybody's celebrating, except for the butler, who finally finds what happened to his son. He is sad and distraught, and it's only shown for like a few seconds, but it's still very disheartening. Anyways, if you guys like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.